Jade here from the Rawsome Truth, coming to you from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. This morning I do what I usually do. You look in the mirror, you look at yourself, you try very hard not to pick yourself apart. And I looked at myself today and I said, gee, I'm sorry. And I genuinely meant it. I started to think about when I started to loathe my body. What age was it when I started to really think that my body was dreadful? And it would probably be from just after I had my son. And I was very young when I had a baby. I was 18 when I had my son, and I had a C-section. So my body was destroyed. When I say destroyed, it wasn't a perky, perfect body an 18-year-old has any longer. And it started with loathing my cesarean scar. I hated it. To this day, I admit it still gives me the absolute heebie-jeebies. I'm a lot more accepting of it now than when I was, and I call myself a child, I was 18, than I was when I was a young girl. But I think that was the start of really starting to loathe myself. And I used to obsess over this, and I'd obsess over different things. I also started, my self-esteem was quite low because I was sort of outcasted because I had a baby so young. The father of my son left me whilst I was pregnant, which doesn't do wonders for your self-esteem. So my self-esteem was really low. I was a single mum, and there was a lot more stigma than there is now in Australia. I mean, my son will be 21 in September. There's a lot more stigma than there is now. When you're a single mum, you were outcasted, and I was even shamed by certain friends about being that. So that was the start of the real self-loathing. Then I had a relationship with the father of my daughter, and he used to say cruel things to me, like about my boobs, because I was breastfeeding my son and then my daughter. He'd say things, oh, they're saggy. And, the funny thing is, I was only thinking about it today, and I was looking at my breasts while I was in the shower, and I thought, they do replenish. I mean, they never look the same as before breastfeeding or before having a child, but they do replenish. They're not that sort of sacky look that you get when you are breastfeeding, because the babies are sucking all the milk out of them all the time, and they get that sort of like a balloon that's going down look. And that used to really bother me. And then when we ended it, I had a relationship, probably, I reckon it was for about 9 months to a year before I got into the relationship I've been in now. And I wasn't even a big girl. I was tiny. I mean, a lot smaller than I am now. And he would say things to me. He was a bodybuilder, and he'd hang out in the gym, and he would say things to me like, oh, all the other girls I've been out with are a lot smaller than you ever were. It's really weird for me being with a bigger girl, like as if I was this really big girl. And this is the start of the real self-loathing, and this is when my eating disorders started to kick in. So I would starve myself. I had no idea about dieting, and I look at myself now. If I could talk to this girl now, I must have been about 21, 22 at the time. If I could talk to me at age 21, 22 now, I would say to her, you're beautiful and there's nothing wrong with the way you look. But I didn't feel that, because you have this thing that, oh, maybe no other man will want me. It was just so stupid how you feel and how you think and where my self-esteem was. And I was beautiful. There was nothing wrong with me. I was healthy. My body was fine. And this is when I started dieting, and I would go on starvation diets, and I wouldn't eat for 1 or 2 days, and I would drink a lot of the energy drinks, the high caffeine energy drinks. And then obviously after a couple of days of not eating properly, I would binge eat. And because I was starving, but I wouldn't be eating the right foods, because actually, to be honest with you, I had no idea what the right foods were. I mean, you knew fruit and veggies were healthy, of course. Everyone sort of knows that, but I didn't know how to eat, period. And so I would binge and I would eat sausage rolls. They're a big thing in Australia. I would fill up an iced coffee, Farmers Union iced coffee, which is another big sort of standard sort of food in Australia. Counter meals. A counter meal is like a pub meal because I used to work in a pub. So I'd fill up on pub meals and just eat and eat. Then I'd start to think, oh, he's going to think I'm fat. Oh my God. And what am I going to do? So I'd starve myself again. So that was the real start of it for me. And I've been thinking about it over the last couple of days. How did I get to the stage where I become obsessed with my weight and my appearance and my looks and all things that are so superficial? And it's funny, even my own children have said to me, Mum, I honestly believe that I have insecurities about how I look because of your obsession over the years. And I feel dreadful that my own children, son and daughter, have had their own insecurities because of my insecurities. And we don't even realise that when we put this out all the time, our children are watching. And if either of them do watch this, you know I think you're beautiful. And I'm sorry for the way that I have been over the years because it's just crazy. And I just have been really thinking about what got me started to this obsession. And of course, then I started, because the self-loathing was so bad and I'm yo-yo dieting, I started to experiment with different tablets. I can't even remember what they're called, but they're like a speed caffeine tablet. And I reckon I paid something like $100 and something for a prescription. So it wasn't cheap, but I got it over the counter. So that would suppress my appetite. And then I wouldn't like the way that feel because I couldn't sleep on them. And I like to sleep. So I'd stop taking them and then I'd binge eat. So it's just been a continual cycle. Then I'd go through phases where I'd forget about it. But because I had been putting so much stress on my body over the years, my body gained weight. Because I'd been starving myself for so long and my body said, you know what, you just can't keep doing that. And obviously I had drinking problems, drug problems, eating disorder problems, junk food addiction problems, all these different things. And that's just the perfect way to start to gain weight. And I would even go on diets whilst I had my drinking issues. So I'd be on a diet and I wouldn't eat for days at a time. So then I'd just drink pure vodka rather than mixing it with anything else or having beer or anything like that because I'd say I don't want to gain weight. And you can imagine, it doesn't do wonders to your head. So this obsession I've had with my weight has been a long-term thing. Why am I discussing this on YouTube today? Because I run a massive forum. I run one forum called Raw Vegan Fruitarians for Life, and I've got about 33,000 people on there. And I've just started another group called Fruits and Roots, which has about 7,500 people on there. So I'm dealing with a lot of people with eating disorders. And I know that I have an eating disorder, and whether I've got it under control or whatever, I've got it there, and the demons come back quite often. And when you're fighting these demons, it's really hard. And I wanted to share with other people how I started and how I've got to where I am now and how I still fight the demons day in, day out. So I went through all my yo-yo dieting. I've got quite a few videos about my different yo-yo dieting. But when I gave up drinking, food then became my ultimate best friend because drinking was a big escape for me. So once food became my ultimate best friend, then I started stacking on the weight big time. So this was all part of my eating disorder. I mean, people who don't have eating disorders Do not binge eat on pizzas. Do not go out and buy a cheesecake. And I'm not talking like a Sara Lee cheesecake. We've got a shop called the Cheesecake Shop. You may have similar things in America where you can buy. I'd buy a cake like this and I would eat it on a Saturday night. Then I'd eat blocks of cheese. This was prior to being vegan, obviously. Blocks of chocolate, chips, Coke, everything, and a big pizza. And of course I'm going to stack on weight. But that's not somebody who's got their eating under control. So there's always been these parallels of extreme, and I've got that personality. I've got an extreme personality where it's all or nothing. So I'd either be starving myself or on the other side of the spectrum where I'm binging but on dreadful food. And my weight plummeted, and I hit rock bottom with my weight. I got the biggest I'd ever been. And it was only when I was in Las Vegas and I said, wow, I'm out of control. And my eating was totally out of control in Vegas because seriously, they just supersize you right up. So when I got home from there, that's when I started learning a little bit about health, nutrition, and this is where my health turned for the better and the worse. It turned for the better because I started to learn a little bit more about nutrition and I started to educate myself, but I learned about calorie restriction. And this is when I started to move into energy deficit diets. So I went to a large weight loss company. It's probably one of the largest in the world, and did the whole point plan thing and was very successful at it. Lost 26 kilos. Very successful. Kept all my weight off for 3 to 4 years, but my weight became an absolute obsession. Absolute craziness. And I was working for this company and I looked wonderful. I did. I looked fantastic and my body was just great and clothes just slipped straight on me and it was all good. But I was fighting so many demons. I was scared to eat certain food. If I overate on a day, if I had a binging episode, which I was binging a lot because my body was starving of nutrition, I would then restrict even further. I'd over-exercise, and I mean, I was crazy exercising, like amounts that normal people shouldn't be exercising, and hence I was so tiny. But what the worst thing happened was I started to realise that I couldn't sustain this. So then I moved into the plant-based lifestyle once I learned about it. And of course, I started putting out all the products that were helping me stay slim. The caffeine, the sugar-free products, the egg whites, the high protein, all these products that were keeping me super skinny, I pulled them out of my diet. And I said, you know what, I've got to start being realistic here. I've got to eat properly because I've starved my body. And of course, weight came back on. And I am a lot bigger as a vegan than I was as a non-vegan. And I often laugh when people say, become a vegan, you'll lose so much weight. And I think, well, maybe some people, but not when you're coming from calorie restriction. It just doesn't work. And because I'm feeding my body a lot of carbs, and carbs don't make you fat, don't get me wrong. But when you've been calorie restricting and really low protein for so long, your body's saying, my God, you've starved me for so long, I'm holding on to this. And it's been a big struggle for me. It's been a big struggle for me because I look in the mirror and I grab parts of my body and I go, there's fat, there's fat, there's fat. And I imagine in my head even cutting off the fat. And it's dreadful. It's dreadful when these demons take over, and I'll look at myself and I'll say, look at you, you're so fat. Look at your face, it's puffed up today. Like, I will pinpoint absolutely everything. And I said to myself today, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry for everything I've done to you. I've abused you. I've starved you. And even now I'm nourishing you, I still continue to abuse you. And it's just something that you fight daily when you've been on this cycle of binge eating and starvation. And I understand when you look at yourself in the mirror and all you want to see is someone skinny. And I understand when I see women write over and over and over again, something wants me to get back into calorie restriction, because I understand it. Because most days I think, God, should I just pull my calories back? Because you know it works. You know when you eat less, you're going to strip your weight off. And I go, no, just be patient with the process. Just be patient with the process. Just be patient with the process. And you keep telling yourself this, but you know how tiny you can be when you're restricting. And it's that constant thing in your mindset saying, I want to be skinny, I want to be skinny, I want to be skinny. Instead of saying, I want to be healthy, I want to be healthy, I want to be healthy. And I think it's just so important for me and for any other women who are struggling with these demons, these battles and everything else, to wake up each morning and look at yourself and say, I am worthy, I am enough, I am beautiful. And if you can look at yourself and say that, and I know it's really hard, and I know some days are harder than others, because I have my days where I struggle more than others, but if you can look at yourself and do that, you'll start to see the changes. And I practice self-love techniques looking in the mirror most days, and I do it because I know where my head can go. I know where my mind can go. And I'm nearly 40, so I've been battling with this for a long, long time. And old habits are really, really hard to break. And if anyone's young, and when I say young, it's not hard to be younger than me, and if any of you are older than me and saying, you know what, I've been doing it for even longer. But if any of you are young and you're listening, start doing it now. Start nourishing your body. Start loving yourself. Every part of you. If you can't look at your face at this point in time and say, you know what, I love you, I love your eyes, I love the way you can shut them, I love your cheekbones, I love your nose, I love your chin, I love your mouth. If you can't look at yourself and do that yet, just start with something so simple. And it might sound not so simple. For me, I used to beat my toes up. Like, I used to say, why do you have stubby toes? Why can't your feet be more narrow so you look better in sandals? That's how much I've beaten myself up, even down to my feet, for goodness sake. So start with something really, really simple. Even if it's, you know what, I like my hand. Why do I like my hand? I like my hand because my fingers are cute. I like my hands because they help me make things that I need to do. You know, just even something so simple. And then you start on different things. For me, my arms have been a thing where I beat my arms up. So I try and look at the things that I like the best about my arms. And I say, you know what, I love the way your shoulders shape. Because I do. I like my shoulders. And so I focus more on the shoulders. And then if I go down to, you know, a part that I don't like so much, I say, you know what, I do like this because it's holding my shoulders up. Just something so simple. And these are just different coping strategies that I do. If you believe you have a serious problem, please seek counselling, see a doctor, talk to a nurse, talk to a friend, talk to someone. Don't do it alone. But I just wanted to share some of the things that I've been through and let it a little bit off my chest and let you know that you're not alone. I have these feelings too. And I struggle so much with this whole abundance thing. And it doesn't mean that you have to have abundance to the extent where you're full, because I know you see that a lot in the vegan community, you know, eat until you burst. I don't believe that's the right thing either. But I don't believe calorie restriction is ever the right thing. I think you need to eat enough until you have enough energy. You need to eat enough so that you feel satisfied. You need to eat enough so that you're not getting anxiety, you're not getting stressed, you're not getting upset, and you're not thinking about things that'll spiral you back into calorie restriction. It's been a long journey for me to get where I am today, and I have to remind myself so much of where I've been, how far I've come. I've overcome, since eating as a high carb, low fat vegan, I've overcome anxiety, insomnia, depression, and I'm learning to love every part of me. And that's probably been the hardest thing, and it's something I've been working on now for 5 years. But I'm getting better and better because I can look at my face and say I love you. And that's huge. And when you can do that, it makes such a difference to when you get the triggers. And they are triggers. I get triggered sometimes when I see people that are super lean. Photos of people super lean. That's a trigger for me. It's a trigger for me because I start going, I need to be that lean. I need to do, they're triggers in my head to want to undereat. And I'm on Facebook a lot, and I see a lot, and you can't not when you're running massive forums. And they can be triggers for me, and I'm very mindful of these things because I know I've got myself under control at this point in time, but I'm very mindful because I know a lot of young girls with eating disorders come into my group, and I don't want things to trigger them. And I know lots of different things can, but my greatest advice for anybody is practice self-love. Come face to face with the demons. Work out where it started. And when you can start working out where it started, start looking at saying, you know what, how can I talk to that girl? That girl being you. How can I talk to her and say, what would I say if it was a friend? And that's how I talk to myself now. I try and pinpoint the moments that things affected me. And I then talk to that girl and I say, you know what, that's not the truth. Look at you. And I really look at myself, and it's like, I look at myself at age 21 or 22, whenever I was with that guy, the bodybuilding guy, and I can see myself in a tiny little blue skirt. I had a tight little top on. I've always worn different tops like this, but it was more crop and midriff. And I can still see myself, and I was tiny. And I can still see myself now, and I'm saying, look at yourself. Look at how you were. You were beautiful. You had a lovely body. There was nothing wrong with the way you were. The problem was with him. But we wear this. We wear all the words that people put on top of us. And it's so important that we remind ourselves that they had the problem, not us. And look, it's all different things for different people, but these were the things that started my eating disorders. And I'm going to talk a lot more about eating disorders and overcoming eating disorders and gaining control on my channel, because I'm starting to see more and more in my group that it's a big issue. And my greatest talent, my greatest skill is that I can share my life. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not ashamed of it. Everything I've been through has made me what I am today. And I am strong, and I'm an overcomer. And I've got a lot of good advice because I've been there, done that. And you can learn a lot from people who have. And generally the people who've been through it can be the greatest teachers of all. I hope you got something from this. I hope it's helped you further. I just wish you all the love and strength to overcome whatever it is you need to overcome in your own health journey. My name's Jade. This is the Rawsome Truth. Subscribe to my channel, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and most importantly, love life and live free. Bye for now.